Alec Baldwin sort of broke his silence on the death of Rust cinematographer Helena Hutchins on Saturday. Nearly 10 days after she was killed by a prop gun, Baldwin fired, accompanied by his wife, Hilaria, you know, the fake Spanish lady who forgot the word cucumber.
We have very few ingredients. We have tomatoes, we have, how do you say it? Cucumbers. We have red pepper. We have, of course, the critical cebolla, onion, and we have our garlic.
We have, how you say cucumber, how you say garlic. Baldwin spoke to the press in secluded Vermont, but he couldn't stay secluded for long, could he? The nearly 4-minute conversation with paparazzi was laced with tension, and poor Baldwin. He appeared so frustrated as he answered questions, and he even repeatedly snapped at Hilaria as she tried to interject. So he said he was told not to say anything, I guess.
I will.
What do you want to know?
All right, Alec, what's the current state of what's going on with the case?
I'm not allowed to make any comments because it's an ongoing investigation. I've been ordered by the Sheriff's Department in Santa Fe. I can't answer any questions about the investigation. I can't. It's an active investigation in terms of a woman dying. She was my friend. She was my friend.
Sounds like he's talking. He's not supposed to talk. Yeah, he went on to say this.
We were a very, very, we were a very, very, well-oiled crew shooting a film together, and then this horrible event happened.
See what he did there? That was his wife. Excuse me. He like almost elbowed her away. Very, very well-oiled, Alec. That's not what we heard, and not what we know now from the sheriff's report, but from reports about the set, the crew, handling of special effects, about the issues in the past. So here's what I want to know. What is Alec Baldwin doing? What is this guy thinking? We said he would do this. We called it last week, the day after it all went down. We told you he would make this about himself because he just can't help himself. He makes it so hard to feel bad for him. Those images of him doubled over in agony. But now we have new images. Images of a guy who has a tense face-off with paparazzi 10 days later. Aren't you supposed to be laying low, Alec? And now we also have images of you and your happy Halloween family photos, dressing up with your kids. Look at that smile. Glad you enjoyed it, Alec. It's been 10 days, and there he is with his wife, making it about him, about them. And speaking of his wife, boy, this was tense.
I wouldn't know how to characterize that. They're mortified.
You guys, you know what? No details.
Do me a favor. I'm gonna answer the question.
Do me a favor, get out of here. It's about me, Hilaria. Hillary, I guess she's known that way in Boston, where she's from. She later told the New York Post that she's worried that Alec might have PTSD, saying, quote, "You look at what happens to soldiers and police officers when something like this happens. It's traumatic." Yes, Hillary, we know. We remember what your husband Alec had to say back in 2017 on Twitter protesting police shootings. Quote, "I wonder how it must feel to wrongfully kill someone." And now you're worried that Alec will have PTSD like police officers? And speaking of tweets that come back to haunt Baldwin's, on Saturday morning, the actor responded, quote, "federal government," to a tweet about once great institutions misleadingly operating under their old names. Interesting that Alec Baldwin has something to say about misleadingly operating under a name. Ring a bell, Hillary? Alec Baldwin's flair for drama and making it about himself showed through. Crystal clear when he said, "A woman died. She was my friend." Yes, Alec, a woman died. A woman who tragically died for just showing up to do her job at work. A job, by the way, rarely held by women in Hollywood. But no, Alec Baldwin is the face of this show, Alec and his PTSD. So they're the face of the show, Alec and Hillary Baldwin, right there. Think about that for a second. Famed attorney Gloria Allred is independently investigating what happened on the set of Rust. She also represents the crew member who called 911. Gloria Allred joins us now. She's a victims' rights attorney and co-founder of Allred, Morocco, and Goldberg. Gloria, thank you for coming back.
Thanks for inviting me, Eric.
So you're representing the script supervisor, who's the person who called 911. Tell us what you're hearing, what you understand, what you know about the investigation so far.
Well, it's interesting because some of the details are coming out, not only from the sheriff, and that's unusual for a sheriff to do as many interviews as this sheriff has done, but also through the intensive investigations being done by the LA Times, the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and Variety, and many others. So we're learning a lot. But there are many pieces to this puzzle that need to be put together. From my client, who is Mamie Mitchell, who was the script supervisor, and Eric, she was standing very close to Helena, the director of photography, who was so tragically killed, when that gun shot Helena, causing her death, and also that bullet went through to the director, Joel, who, and the bullet was into his shoulder, into his clavicle. So this has been a traumatic event. Speaking of trauma, to my client, because that bullet might have hit her because she was so close to Helena. But fortunately, she had the presence of mind. Even though she was in shock to run out of the church, she was the first person, as we know, to call 911, and her voice is on that recording. We have a lot of unanswered questions, and we would like to get to those questions and those answers. And so far, we don't really have all of the answers. What has been reported is that the armorer, who, by the way, is the person on movie sets who is supposed to hand a gun to the actor, and Mamie says that in her 40 years as a script supervisor on sets where guns are located, she has never seen an assistant director hand it to the actor. It is the armorer, because the armorer is in charge of the guns. Having said that,
so my audience can understand that the armorer, who we've highlighted on the show last week, Gutierrez Reed, is supposed to be the last person to hand a gun to an actor. He or she is supposed to check the gun, make sure it was not loaded with a live round. And this never happened. It was handed to Baldwin by an assistant director instead of the armorer. So all these things could be negligence, I assume, as a lawyer, Gloria. Here's my question. Alec Baldwin, actor who shot Helena Hutchins, but also an executive producer role on the film, can he be held liable for homicide, so negligent or other?
Well, I mean, there's a potential for liability in a civil lawsuit. And so this has to be investigated to see what that liability would entail. Yes, you're right. The armorer said there was no live ammunition, that, as far as she knew. Then her attorney kind of says, well, she had 2 jobs and it was hard and all of that. And then the assistant director admits, by the way, that he didn't check all of the rounds. And that... He should have checked all the rounds if he's the one that's handing the gun to Alec Baldwin.
But again, not his job. My
question is always, did Alec Baldwin also check the gun?
Probably not.
Or not? And if he didn't, why not? And if he did, what did he see? Yeah. And also, why did that gun go off? Because guns don't go off by themselves. So how did that happen? And we have a lot of dots that need to be connected before we can reach final conclusions. But you're right, potential liability. And of course, Alec Baldwin also said in what you just showed, Eric, that the sheriff ordered him not to speak about it. I've been involved in many, many criminal cases. Sheriffs don't have the power to order anything. Courts do. There's no court order on that. Ordinarily, a sheriff or a prosecutor might say, please don't talk about the case. But that's not an order. He could talk about it if he wanted to. I'm sure his attorneys have said, don't talk about the evidence.
And that's what gets us crazy. And that's what, Gloria, that's what we've been talking about. He's always got to talk because he wants to make it about himself. Gloria Allred, thank you again for joining us as always.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.